Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new revenge stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, Don't Mess with Sandra. This tale was told to me as a warning when I started on my first post-college job. I am relating it exactly as it was told to me. This occurred in the early 80s, so those of you who've grown up with the internet may not understand how we did things in the olden days. There were no smartphone apps to show QR codes for airline tickets. They were paper, with red carbon mess. Reservations were done by phone. It was primitive by today's standards. Players' names have been changed, of course. Sandra, super sweet secretary loved by all, true, I worked with her. She was amazing. Fred, Sandra's boss. Tom, local VP. Big Shot, incoming senior manager from back east. Al, lead engineer on the team. This occurred in Salt Lake City, which, if you don't know, family was a huge part of culture. Even at work, family matters took precedence, and local management knew this and allowed for it. Well, Big Shot's office minions noticed some slight irregularities in time cards, like days off without pre-approved vacation requests. So he got himself transferred to the Salt Lake City office to straighten things out. Naturally, he was quickly hated. One morning, Sandra got a call from her daughter was unexpectedly in town and wanted to have lunch. Naturally, Fred and Tom said okay. But then Big Shot stuck his nose in. Rather than just say no, he dropped a travel request on Sandra's desk, and it had to be done because he expected to fly out that afternoon. Sandra was heartbroken that she wouldn't get to see her daughter, but she had her work responsibilities. Stopping by to drop off some paperwork, Al noticed that Sandra looked a little down, a huge change from her normal chipper mood. He naturally asked why, and Sandra explained. Al told her he had no authority, by the way, to go have lunch and we'll take care of it. Big Shot got his travel packet, got on the plane that afternoon, and flew off to his meeting. That's when things started to go wrong. The rental car reservation was invalid, and there were no cars available at any of the agencies. All had a hold on them pending confirmation from some big clients. So Big Shot ended up getting a rent-a-wreck. For those too young or not in the US, there really was a discount auto rental agency by that name. Quality was not job one. When Big Shot got to the hotel, he found that his reservation was no good. He had to wait around until after the tentative reservations expired, which was after 6 p.m. Getting suspicious, Big Shot looked at his tickets and found they were one way. He had no flight home. The next morning, Tom flew in to join him, and to say Big Shot was incensed was probably an understatement. He gave Big Shot a packet that was marked extremely urgent that had been left on his desk with a note to take it to Big Shot. It was Big Shot's return ticket. On the way back, Big Shot stopped by the corporate office and got a very senior exec to come with him because of some very serious personnel problems. The next morning, Big Shot led the senior exec and Tom into a meeting with all of Fred's department and began publicly berating Sandra for incompetence and so on. When he got to the part about the tickets, Fred interrupted and told the senior exec that Sandra couldn't have done that, she was on approved time off having lunch with her daughter. This raised the senior exec's eyebrows and got Big Shot even angrier. The senior exec said if Sandra didn't mess up the tickets, who did? Fred stepped forward. Then Al, and one by one, every single member of Fred's team stepped forward to take responsibility to protect Sandra from Big Shot's wrath. Tom and the senior exec knew instantly what had happened. Everyone on Fred's team had burned up the phones making tentative reservations for rental cars and hotel rooms, leaving Big Shot stuck with worthless reservations and no alternates. Within the hour, Big Shot's desk was empty and his badge had been turned in. The senior exec stuck around to get to know the team. He was very impressed with how the whole team stuck together and protected their own. After he finished the tale, the engineer said bluntly, "Don't mess with Sandra. We love her, and we will make you pay if you upset her." Message received loud and clear. As I worked with Fred's team, I got to understand why everyone loved Sandra. She was an absolute gem in the organization, efficient, super friendly, just an all-around wonderful person. Next one is titled, All She Had to Do Was Nothing. Context. Names and some details changed for privacy. Players, me equals me, NB31, but I'm not out at work. Manager equals Lady Catherine, female 60s. Managing partner equals Bennett, male 50s. My partner equals Gardner, male 47. Partner I'm babysitting equals Bingley, male 44. My friend, co-worker equals Charlotte, female 30s. I am a professional attorney wrangler for a big legal firm. If you've watched Suits, I'm Donna if she was wound tighter than a child's music box. As a legal admin, I have to keep a tremendous amount of information straight. Every county in every US state has their own court system, their own rules, and their own idiosyncrasies. I have 5 attorneys on my team. Despite the TV shows, it's pretty unusual for a lawyer to have a special secretary all their own unless they are very important, so 5 is a solid number. Because of the nameless death that took over the world last year, a secretary that left in January 2020 has not been replaced yet, and I've been babysitting one of the partners, Bingley, in the meantime. It's been a fun learning opportunity, as Bingley works for an entirely different region and type of law than the rest of my team. Also, he has a case where a truck exploded, was empty, which is awesome. Story. My manager, Lady Catherine, is the worst. You know the type, she plays favorites, her best loved word is no, she must be involved in every conversation because she is just that important and necessary. We don't get along because I am a stubborn know-it-all who's been proven right a few too many times. Highlights include forbidding me from using the same resources other admins had access to, on her orders, including backup admins when my workload was too big and then denying my overtime requests. I literally had no way to do my job some days. It's worth noting that the reason Bingley's secretary left was specifically because of Lady Catherine. In fact, 4 additional admins quit over the year explicitly because of her. Anyway, at this point, I'd been working with Bingley for almost a year. It was November 2020, and we'd settled into a pretty good routine. I'd gotten used to filing pleadings in a different state, and no longer needed to double-check all my work for nuance. Because law still operates in the Stone Ages, a few US states still require hard copy filing. Anything we want the judge to read has to be sent by actual mail, on actual paper, to arrive in the judge's actual hands. It's a pain, most states let you file electronically, but whatever. Bingley mostly only has cases in one of the hard copy states. Lady Catherine, in her excessive wisdom, butted in uninvited and instructed me to include a cover letter when mailing a new filing. This confused me, as I had been filing for almost a year and no one, including the admin who originally trained me, had mentioned a cover letter. I told her this, and she basically told me to suck it up. I called the court admin to make sure I wasn't crazy and that I hadn't ruined a year's worth of filings, and the court admin literally laughed and said to please not include a cover letter ever. So I didn't. Imagine my surprise when Lady Catherine called me, writing me up for insubordination. Even knowing the court rules and the judge and the court admin explicitly said to not send a damn letter, she was right because she is always right and I am, and I quote, a disrespectful little a-hole and she was tired of me. A warning went into my employee file, pending disciplinary measures. The next day, she emailed my team telling them to reduce my score on my yearly review, as she knew I had been rated too highly for what my abilities really are. It felt to me like she was preparing to fire me by creating a history of poor performance. Well, if you're so tired of me, Madam Manager, I can leave. Within a week of looking, I found a new position. Now, here's the issue, I ducking love my team. This is the best work team I've ever been on. We take each other seriously and we genuinely love each other. A lot of times admins get pushed around because we don't have fancy degrees, but not here. Calling in to quit, I cried. I cried a lot. I cried to the point that one of the partners, Bennett, asked if I wanted a counter-offer. I said no, because that wouldn't solve anything. He asked what I meant. I told him. I told him about the write-up. I told him how she was trying to falsify my employee review after it had been submitted. I told him the reason 5 admins had left. I told him about how I wasn't allowed to ask for help. At this point I had given myself hiccups from weeping, and one of the partners on my team, Gardner, was calling him asking if he and his workload were the reasons I was leaving, so Bennett let me go do other things, like day drink and create a shrine out of legal forms. I thought it was the end of it, until a friend in another office, Charlotte, called me asking what the hell I was doing. She doesn't has time to train someone into being the new me, and I was the only admin she actually trusts in my office, so why was I leaving her all alone? I told her. And she told Gardner. And together they plotted. First, Charlotte is the manager in her office, so she is on equal footing with Lady Catherine. They also report to the same person. Charlotte called the district manager and told him that Lady Catherine was driving admins away and that the most recent quitter, me, was the only person who knows how to do a lot of the work on my teams, and my loss was a serious blow. Apparently this is true, which is both heartwarming and terrifying. Meanwhile, Gardner called up a fellow partner and told her that his world would collapse in on itself if I left. He would go to the nearest bridge and jump off it, which would be pretty impressive in a landlocked state. They had to do something. I got a call the next day from Bennett, saying they had a counter offer they were really hoping I'd take. Basically, instead of Lady Catherine, I would report directly to Gardner. Lady Catherine would be forbidden from interfering with me without first asking Gardner for his permission. This solved the issue and I got to stay with my team, so I happily accepted. I thought the debacle was over. The debacle was not over. Unbeknownst to me, after looking at the evidence, exit interviews, emails, memos, Bennett put Lady Catherine on a performance improvement plan and she did not get an end-of-year bonus or raise. Turns out I had been absolutely correct. Lady Catherine's behavior and treatment had been the explicit cause that 6 secretaries quit in less than a year. I got a call last week from Charlotte. I figured she wanted to gossip about co-workers or rant about how a shared client is a big ol' headache, but it was actually to give me a heads up. Lady Catherine had been stripped of her management duties. I no longer had any contact with her, which was great, but it also meant I didn't see that her behavior had actually doubled down on the admins unfortunate enough to still be under her thumb. She had missed every single one of the benchmarks on her performance improvement plan. Charlotte had called me to ask my opinion on who should be the new manager, as I know everyone and she was helping cover some things as an outside manager. Now, I know some of you are thinking, yes, become the manager and fire Lady Catherine. But I am not a sadist. I want to stay on my team and do what I do best, which is being a cheerfully annoying, respectful little crap. I told her one of the more senior admins would probably need some guidance, but would be amazing at it. No one has to deal with Lady Catherine anymore. She is now a mere paralegal and not anyone's manager at all. If she had just left me alone and not interfered where she wasn't needed, none of this would have happened. All she had to do was nothing. Next one is titled, He Should Have Just Paid His Part. Some background, I'm the manager of a tight-knit extracurricular activity business. My boss is the owner. We serve children and adults. We run on a membership-based system. More background, Mum brings in her 4 boys 2 years ago to attend with us. Mum and Dad split last year. Court-ordered custody agreement says he pays 90% and she pays 10% for all extracurriculars based on their income. I'll try to keep this short. After Mum and Dad split, poo hit the fan for these people. We have several divorced parents working to get their kids here when they can, but Dad just never seems to want to. Since we operate with memberships kinda like a gym, if you don't come in, you're wasting your money. Every Friday, I call our people who've been absent for more than 4 days. Every other week, they're out completely. I look into it a bit further with Mum, who attended with us before her kids started, and those are the weeks Dad has them. This has happened before and is an easy enough fix. We take the parent who isn't cooperating through our program and help them understand the benefits their kids are getting out of it. He watched them a few times when they would come and started to see how they enjoyed it and the value in the program. Crisis averted, he's bringing the kids again. Since the divorce, Dad hasn't been super forthcoming with money. And with Mum being the primary and not having the funds due to the ongoing divorce proceedings, my boss forfeited 11 months of payments for these people totaling $3,060. My boss put her foot down 2 weeks ago right before the 1-year mark for them. We couldn't keep not letting them pay us. Mum comes in, we give her the business. She's cool about it, understands that we have a business to run. Sets up her court-ordered 10% on a typical payment plan that we do, $408 over a 12-month period. We email Dad because at this point he's just giving them to Mum to take here nearly every day. We don't typically invoice people, usually just set it up in-house with them in front of us, so having to write out that he owes us $3,672 over the next year was tough. Dad doesn't check his email, cool, fine, whatever. This morning, I call because first payments are due this week. I gave him the business. His reply was, yeah, I saw the email. I can't pay anything until the court orders extracurriculars because the child support is way too high, but I really like the program y'all have. Okay, I just think to myself, right. We have the court documents that say how much he had to spend on us. That's cool. I type up the call transcript and send it back to him and CC Mum with a note that my boss would be calling to set up payments this week. Mum texts me immediately calling his BS because he hasn't paid her for giving self a cent of child support, ordered 6 months ago, same document she provided us. Then, Dad replies. The first reply he's sent to any email we've sent him. He wanted to make sure we knew that continue if the child support schedule is complete and there is money to put to it. Possibly is, Mum pays her half is out the conversation. I didn't quite understand what this meant, but I interpreted it as the child support schedule isn't set yet, so I won't pay until Mum pays. But we'd sent him the invoice showing him that Mum paid. After a while I stopped trying to understand, it just wasn't worth it. I sent the invoice to both their lawyers listed on the court document and let them take it to court. Dad refused to pay even after he was found in contempt of court for refusing to pay for the kids' extracurriculars. I've genuinely never met anyone this stubborn. Revenge starts here, so we end up having to take Dad to court because he ended up signing a contract with us to pay and he's refused again and again. Our non-payments clause allows us to request payment in full if you have too many problems with the payments. The full amount listed on the contract he signed was $4,080 minus the Mum's portion. So my boss, the lovely one she is, decided we can and would request payment in full, but not just his portion, the entire $4,080. My boss also pulled out the $3,060 that we waived and the judge made him pay it too. Next one is titled, Lady Waits to Use the Bathroom Every Night at Closing Call. Never again. When I was working as a barista, there were 2 nights a week the closers would have to sweep and mop the entire coffee house, supposedly in 15 minutes. This was impossible to do, so I would do what I could throughout the evening and do the rest once everyone was gone, often going over on time. There was a lady who started coming in a few hours before close, and she'd drag her poor dog in too. She would just ask for hot water, free, with the excuse that she didn't like any of our 50 bajillion teas. She would use a tea bag she brought from home. I don't remember why we let her stay, to be honest. Once we started cracking down on the fact that to use our Wi-Fi you have to order something, she made a scene and stopped coming in. A couple times she'd order something and then complain that it wasn't good. But she always took advantage of many hot water refills, important later. Every night I would announce closing. Like clockwork, she would take her sweet damn time packing everything up, and then head for the bathrooms. Every night we would finish and be ready to leave and she'd still be in there. And on sweep and mop nights, I couldn't lock everything up and mop until she was gone. It made my blood boil. We were not paid to be there that long, and it was almost midnight. Service workers are not paid enough for this. So I started announcing 15 minutes ahead of time that we were closing in 15. It made no difference. I tried asking her directly, it didn't work. Yeah, I'm packing up, take her time, then straight to the bathroom. I turned the music off abruptly. I turned the music up too loud. I turned lights off. Still, she'd wait until the last possible second and then head for the bathroom. I am not a confrontational person, and I was less of one then. I hate conflict. But she'd pushed me to my breaking point and she was a jerk. One night I snapped. I made my 15 minutes to close announcement. Come close. I blocked off the bathrooms for cleaning. I made my announcement. Music off. Most lights off. I started putting tables and chairs up for the mop. She took like 10 minutes to get up from the table. Full of free hot water, she headed for the bathroom hallway. In my cheeriest customer service voice I said, "Sorry, bathrooms are closed for cleaning, the floors are still wet. We're closed." Full of water lady, "But I need to use the bathroom." Me, "Sorry, we closed 10 minutes ago." Full of water lady, "I drank a lot of tea, I need to use the bathroom." Me, "Sorry, we closed 10 minutes ago." Full of water lady, "What am I supposed to do?" Me, "I'm sorry, we're closed." Full of water lady, dumps the contents of her dog's water cup on the floor and walks out. I felt bad immediately because where would she pee? The parking lot? But she never pulled that crap on anyone in our shop again. Next one is titled, "I Know How to Use the Radio." So for a bit of background, I, 24 female, 22 at time of story, drive a school bus. At the time of this story I'd been driving for about 1.5 years. We had gotten new, fancy radios on all the buses over the summer, however it was now 2 or 3 months into school. I knew how our new radios worked. Unknown to my bus monitor and myself, we had managed to knock the radio antenna off the bus with some tree branches. So no one could hear us, and we couldn't hear them. The mechanic, after I finished telling him the problems we were having, proceeds to mansplain how to work the radios. You have to wait till it keys in beep before you start talking. Make sure you haven't keyed in when someone else is already talking. I was mad as heck. Now for my petty revenge. My bus, special needs, wheelchair ramp had a recurring problem with the hydraulic lifting arms. They would get dirt in them and start messing up, which means my students are now sitting at an angle when being lifted, or the ramp would simply not go all the way up or down. They sent the same mechanic from before. We got on another bus to keep up with our route. When we got back before our midday route, I asked him if the ramp was fixed. He responded, in the same know-it-all voice, "Yes, you just had to stand on it to get it to go." I immediately took my bus over to where there was space in the yard and tested the ramp. Watching as the mechanic raced over in his golf cart, as if to prove me wrong. And immediately the ramp messed up again. I looked over, absolutely trying not to be a complete a-hole, telling him, "Nope, it's not working right, we'll go get the other bus." It was so nice to finally be able to prove I do know what I'm doing and talking about. I've since moved to another school district where the mechanics actually listen, and don't make me feel stupid when I say there's something wrong. Last one is titled, "How the Tables Have Turned." I remember during my first year of college, I had a friend roommate who got 82 in an exam and I got 78. The following day our professor started lecturing us and complaining how the class average was low and how the material is dumb and how some students never show up, or show up late or sleep in class. A few days later I was talking to him about how the professor was talking to us and he told me, "I got 82, you got 78, you should be more like me," and he went on and on in a negative condescending way. Note, he skips like half the classes, comes late and sleeps in class. A few days later when I went to check my exam, I noticed there was something off with the grading. Apparently there were mistakes in the marking scheme. This changed the grades of most of the class. The next day the grades were updated. My grade was 82 and his was 78. He told me his grade was 78 and I told him mine was 82. We just looked at each other for a minute and I decided not to say anything about it, which just annoyed him even more, but we both knew. I've never seen him so irritated, annoyed, and it was the most satisfying revenge by just looking. Thanks for listening.